Got a little amplification going on here. Howdy everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. I'm Bing Futch. Thank you for pushing that button that brought you here. I'm really glad to see you because I've got a lot of fun for you today. We're going to be doing some improvisation and with backing tracks on top of that. I just finished a brand new project called Milagro Canyon Jam Tracks Volume 2 Mountain Dulcimer Edition. It's 23 different tracks, almost 2 hours of backing tracks, so that you can improv, practice chord movement, and all that stuff. I'm going to give you a little brief rundown on how it all works. The art of improvisation, making things up as you go. And then I'm going to actually put one of the tracks on, and I've never actually jammed any of these yet, so this should be a lot of fun. But before I get into that, I want to give a big old shout out to one of my patrons on Patreon, Rosie Howard. Rosie, thank you very much for your support and your encouragement. I appreciate you. In fact, you helped to produce Milagro Canyon Jam Tracks Volume 2 and a lot of other things since you've been a patron, so I really do appreciate you and everybody out there as part of my Patreon community because you are making it happen in the studio, on the road, and other places. So it's an old school kind of a thing, but I really do appreciate you. So once again, Rosie, thank you very much. Those of you wondering what Patreon is, it is a way for people to support artists like myself. And if you're a super fan, it's a no-brainer to jump on in because my patrons for $5 a month get every CD I've ever made, all of my self-published books, HD versions of this program, and a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, tablature, demos, and things that you won't get anywhere else on the internet. So basically the money goes towards helping me continue to do what I do. It just eases the pinch a little bit when I'm out there on the road or here working in the studio on new projects. My patrons have helped produce albums. They've actually produced this Dulcimerica podcast, and they've actually taken care of things when things get a little scary on the road, as they do sometimes. I seriously would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my patrons, and you could be one too. Just click on the link right down here or go to this link down there. It is a clickable link sometimes and sometimes it's not. You can head on over there and check it out. Go to the area that says Open House. There you can download a whole bunch of stuff for free, see what Patreon's all about, and hopefully you too will become a patron just like Rosie Howard and all the rest of my fantastic fun friends. All right, man, we're about to jump in to some Milagro Canyon Jam Tracks Volume 2 Dulcimer Edition. Now, before I do that, let's talk a little bit about improvisation. What exactly is improvisation? Well, basically, it is making it up as you go along. It's taking skills that you already have in your skill set and using them to navigate the waters untested. Just instead of practicing something over and over again or memorizing something, you sort of just go with the flow. And there are a very small set of tools that'll enable you to do this. I'm going to give you a little hint of what some of those are right now. The tune I'll be doing is in the key of D, and all of the tracks are just named whatever key the song is in, and then 1, 2, or 3 for what number key that is. D1, D2, D3, and D4. There are 4 different tracks in the key of D, and this is the first one. And I'm going to have to put my glasses on for this because I'm a blind boy. That's much better. So we're in the key of D. This is in 4/4 time. The tempo is 95 beats per minute, and this is a 5-minute and 54-second track in a pop vein. So basically, we're going to be cruising along here for almost 6 minutes and having some fun. So what you can look at when you're in the key of D is, first of all, know that there's a certain scale that comes with every single key, and that in this case is the D major scale. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp are the 7 notes of that scale. Now you can build a scale off of every single one of those notes using the note as the root or the first note. You can also use every single one of those notes to build a chord using that note as the root of that chord. Now, naturally occurring, when you build off of the 1st, 4th, and 5th notes of the scale, and this goes for any key, you'll end up with major chords. Those are the happy, upbeat sounding chords. If you build off the 2nd, 3rd, or 6th notes of the scale, you'll end up with minor chords. They're the ones that are kind of somber and serious. And then if you build off the 7th note of the scale, you'll get a diminished chord, which is neither happy or somber, but kind of quizzical. And they all have their very basic characteristics. So here is the trick. As we're moving through this piece, we start off in the D major, 2 measures of D major, and then it goes to a B minor. So here's a little tricky thing. B minor certainly stands for, a B minor scale, but B minor also happens to be the relative minor to the key of D major. That means that they share the exact same notes and the exact same key signature. So you don't actually have to worry about a separate scale. You can just play notes out of the D major scale to fit with B minor. But, what about when you get to G major? Well, when you get to G major, now you've got a G major chord and your melody notes should come out of the G major scale. The G major scale has one sharp, whereas D major has two sharps. And that scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Now, some of those notes obviously overlap between D and G, but there's a couple of changes. When you go to G major, you don't want to play a C sharp because it's C natural in the key of G. It's little tiny things like that that'll help you navigate when you're doing improvisation. So if you have the chord sheet in front of you, you can look down and see that that G is going to go to B minor. I can come out of the D major scale. It's going back to G. Then it goes to E minor. Now, E minor is the relative minor to G major, so I can just use the notes out of the G major scale to come up with my melody. How do you find the relative minor, by the way? Just take your major scale and go up 6 notes. When you reach that 6th note, whatever that note is, call it a minor, and then start the scale from the 6th note and go all the way around until you come back to that note again an octave higher. And there you have the minor scale. It's all built into the scales themselves. It's really, really fascinating stuff once you get your head wrapped around it. Now we have an A major chord that pops in here at the end of this little A part here. So when we go to the A major chord, we'll be thinking about key of A. Key of A has 3 sharps, and the scale is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G sharp. So very important, if you've been soloing and kind of messing around on the fretboard and you've been playing G natural all this time, which is just fine for the other chords we've got, when you get to that A chord, if you're going to hit the G, make sure you play G sharp at the 6.5 fret, and everything will sound just fine. So, basic rule of thumb, when you are improvisating, is that a word? I don't think it is. When you're improvising, just make sure that whatever chord you're playing, whatever melody notes you choose are going to come out of the associated scale with that chord. And as long as you follow that, it's a breeze. Now, as far as phrasing and stuff, you can play quick or you can play slow. You can let notes linger as chords change, especially if those notes are shared by the 2 different or 3 different scales we're talking about. Do whatever you want. Also, you can also just kind of move chords around and use different versions of that chord, different chord shapes. Like if I'm playing D, I'll want to play a little 0-0-2 or 2-0-0, 2-3-4, 4-3-2, 4-5-7, 7-5-4, 7-7-9, 9-7-7, and just sort of move them all around. Not only is this an improvisation course that will get you thinking about melody notes, but also how to move chords around, where to find all examples of your chords all up and down the fretboard. It's a great, great way of getting used to things here so that you can go out and have plenty of fun in the jam or trading 4s with people or whatever you like to do. So I'm going to walk over to the machine. I'm going to hit play on one of these tracks, D1, and I'm going to come on back over here and I'm going to start picking. That was totally cool. Right now I'm just playing chords. Now some soloing. that was fun. That was the first time that I have tried jamming with that particular one. I wrote all these tracks very, very quickly over the course of the past couple of months, and that's not exactly quickly, but as much time as I could probably squeeze into it. And after I knocked each one out, I noodled a little bit just to kind of test some of the stuff and then moved right along. So that is a lot of fun, and I enjoy jamming a whole bunch. Now I know a lot of you out there are a little frightened of the whole jamming thing because it puts you on the spot, and what if you make a mistake? Well, there are a couple of things I want you to think about when it comes to that mistake department. First of all, there is no such thing as a mistake. There are only unintended musical events. If you know the lay of the land, you can basically say to yourself, you know, I really want to play this note, but I ended up playing this note instead. That can come by not exactly knowing what the key is and knowing some of those tips I was telling you about, knowing that whenever you play a certain chord, you want to play melody notes that come out of the associated scale. Once again, remember that some of those notes do bleed over from other scales, so you've got a lot of wiggle room there. But just be aware of your accidentals, your sharps and your flats. Those things make a difference as you go from key to key. The natural notes don't matter nearly as much, so sort of keep that in the back of your head. The other thing is if you do hit a honker of a note and someone looks over at you, own it. Just smile and keep on going. I did some stuff in there that, you know, I wouldn't add on a recording or anything, but it doesn't matter. If you're jamming, you're totally flying by the seat of your pants, and the more you jam and the more you play, the better at it you will get. So I hope you'll check out the book. It's called Milagro Canyon Jam Tracks Volume 2, Mountain Dulcimer Edition, and it's brand new. And I don't want to be too timely about this, but I can tell you right now, go to the website, bingfutch.com, and check out a 16-page sampler from this book and 3 tracks in 3 different keys, D, G, and A. So you can try your hand at playing along with me and then try your hand jamming along with other people. I hope this has been enjoyable and informative for you, and I'm looking forward to sharing some more Dulcimerica with you right on down the road. Until next time, my friends, play on, baby. Play on. Amplification. Acoustic sounds so good in the reverb category. Very nice.